Hello, and welcome to another episode of Strictly Healthy. And in today's episode, of course, we're always dealing with things to do with our health, whether it's emotional, mental, physical. We talk a little bit about financial health as well. That impacts very much on us. Uh, well, I don't know if you're in the UK, you know that we're dealing with a lot of energy costs and that sort of thing building, and possibly in other places as well. Now, my guest today is from the US, and I'll introduce her. Her name is now make sure I say it right,
Yes,
Delayna.
Delayna, you
Delayna
yes.
Watkins. Hello, Delayna. Thank you for joining me. And I
Hello.
should just say, Delayna is a CEO and executive director of Women's Wellness Lounge. And the Wellness Lounge provides health services, signature wellness programs, group health coaching, and so on. You're also a registered nurse, or was a registered nurse. Are you
Yes,
still a registered nurse?
I am not actively practicing. I just threw all that energy into everything that you just said about the wellness lounge.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent then. Lovely to hear. Now, let's get into it a bit, but maybe you want to give us a little bit idea about yourself, like, where you're
Sure.
from, how you got started, why you got started, and what you're
Absolutely.
doing with the Wellness Lounge. That'd be great.
Sure. Yes. So, as you said, I'm a registered nurse by profession. I started out at a very early age and kind of got my feet wet in the whole healthcare arena. And throughout that journey, I really was entrenched in being a nurse and making people well. Somewhere along that journey, I came across taking care of some young African American women that just did not have the knowledge or the resources to not think of healthcare, but thought more of it as sick care. And so there became my shift in my journey to want to put women in a more proactive state of health rather than a reactive state of health. And somewhere around 2009, I began that journey of really figuring out what that looks like. And then in 2011, I launched the Women's Wellness Lounge and began this mission to educate women about their health.
Right. Yes. Now that is amazing. I think that what you're doing to help women, and
Absolutely.
I like that you said it's not a reactive but a
Mhm.
proactive
Yes.
approach to health, because I think too many of us wait till we're feeling
Oh,
some twinge or
mhm,
some
mhm.
sickness
Right.
and then decide, I'm going to try
Come
and fix
on.
it.
Yes,
You
something's
know?
happening here, right, yeah, so for too
Yes.
long, that has been the approach. For too long, that has been the thought process around what healthcare should be and how we respond, and, we're just in this on this journey to really just change the narrative about that experience.
Yeah. So how do you go about doing it with the wellness lounge?
Yeah,
Give me
so
give me an idea.
sure, absolutely. So what we do is we initially it started out that every month, every second Wednesday, Linda, we would get together. It was a reason for women to get out of the house for one reason, to let go of some of our other roles and responsibilities. But every Wednesday we would get together and just host these themed monthly workshops that basically just talk to women about everything from the top of their heads to the soles of their feet. So every month we would focus on a specific area of wellness and then just talk about it, share information, share resources, and then give women the ability to look around and know that they weren't alone in what they were experiencing and feeling. And then we would just give out, obviously resources again, slowly shifting our mindset around that whole idea of being proactive rather than reactive. So that's sort of how we started in 2011, and now we're still doing that. We're just doing it more regularly and more consistently so that we can reach beyond just our own local neighborhood. I mean, look, today I'm on, your show, the Strictly Healthy show, airing from the UK. So we're
In the
trying
UK, yeah.
to change that narrative and really just, get that message far, deep, and wide for women to become more proactive about their health.
Yes, because as as you say, too many of us, are on our own thinking, I'm the only one going through this, and we've heard so many old wives' tales, so to speak, from, or passed down from our moms. I mean, bless
Mhm.
them, they were giving us the information that was useful at the time, but things have
Absolutely.
changed a lot. You know,
Drastically.
we're
Mhm.
dealing with a lot more toxins, a
Mhm.
lot more things going wrong around us. The environmental situation has gone out of,
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
of reach, really.
It really
Uh,
has, yeah, and but if you think back to, like you said, what our, grandparents and great grandparents, even our moms had to share with us, a lot of that really didn't deal with a lot of, things that we're faced with now, but the foundational tools of what they told us still stand true. It's just we have to make sure that even what we do, in dealing with those specific issues, that we keep them front of mind. Like, our grandparents were like, in order to bring a fever down, put a potato in your sock. Like they still went with old traditions and old modalities without having to, take a bunch of pharmaceuticals. They still went back to nature and, herbs and just earthly things. It's just us having to understand that when we look at the compounds of what we're dealing with, yes, it's definitely more toxic and we're definitely dealing with a lot more issues. However, those foundational principles still stand true for a lot of things that we should be doing.
okay.
Yeah.
So, today's topic, we're dealing with menopause. It is a big issue.
Yeah.
We've ran about 2 or 3 episodes already over the course of the last couple of months or so about
Right.
the issues that women face with menopause. It is a
Mhm.
big issue. Uh, I had a couple of ladies on about 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and they were saying something along the lines that menopause is not really the end of it, and
Mhm.
as well as
Mhm.
pause. Why do we say? Somebody else also said menopause. Yes, there's a stop to the menses, so to speak, and
Right.
then of course we get into
And then
another situation.
correct. And
So
I love that
what is
analogy. Yes.
what
Yep.
what is the major complaint that you get from people that you serve?
So the major complaint and concern, I'm gonna just put a spin on the word. Just trying, I'll say the major concern that I get because I try to say, staying in a position or a posture of positivity. So I
Sure.
think the most concern that I get is that women are unaware and it sort of comes either sort of out of nowhere and a lot of things happen all at once. So I think the most concern that I hear is that I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. And then on a symptomology aspect of it, the most concern is the top three that I get, which are hot flashes,
Hmm.
weight gain, and insomnia. Now, there's quite a few more that kind of come after that, but I think those top three that really get women to wake up and know that there's really something going on begins with those top three that I just mentioned. So, Linda,
Okay.
if I had to start somewhere, it would be that we need to do more of what you're doing here on the Strictly Healthy Show, and that is to get the conversation started and continue with the conversation because I always make the analogy that we talk about, starting our menses, right, or starting our period, getting pregnant, childbearing, but we hardly ever hear conversations about what happens beyond that and throughout women in our reproductive years. It then goes into this next transition, or as Jenny Burrell likes to say, third age, which is menopause. I just don't
Mm.
remember having the conversation with my mom. I remember seeing her with a fan, and I remember, watching her turn, sweaty in situations where I was walking around with a coat on and just saying, "Oh, you're going through, quote, the change." But I just think that the narrative was not being heavily um, situated.
Mhm.
And so we walked into this sort of blind for this
Yeah,
generation.
yeah, yeah. Just going back a bit, going back to say when we were younger or in our prime, anything that you suggest that women could have done to help
Mhm.
themselves back then to sort of prepare for now? I'm talking about health wise,
Health
not
wise, yeah.
just. not just based on, reading information or finding out from family, but what could people have done health wise
I
to
think,
prepare themselves?
yeah, even for me personally, again, having looked back and looked at where I was in this journey, I think again the knowledge of knowing what's to come. That's one thing. So that's more of a mindset. But on a more health physical level, certainly for me, I feel that I was much more prepared for this journey once I knew what was happening because I was more proactive about my health, meaning that I knew that something was changing with my menstrual cycle because I was very much in tune with my body. I always went to, every year do my annual physicals with both my healthcare provider and my GYN. And so I think that as women, for us to prepare, we have to make certain that we are well aware of what our normal patterns are of what's going on and then be very, very careful and very selective about what we put in and on our bodies is another way that we can protect ourselves when we go forward through that whole journey and our transition in life is I didn't have to shift very much when it came to lowering your toxins or changing what you eat. I was already practicing that, and that's already part of my healthcare, healthy journey. So I think if I
Hmm.
were, to say, Linda, back to your question, if I were to say to someone who's, let's say, in their late 20s, early 30s, and beyond, it would be to start that healthy journey. Be very careful about, what we're ingesting as well as what we are hearing, right? So, and putting on our bodies. So I always say it's your ear gates, your eye gates, and your mind gate. Like, let's be very selective about what it is that we are consuming.
Yes, yes, indeed. So, well, let's explore that a little bit more about consuming.
Mhm,
Everybody's worried about diet and weight and all the rest of it.
mhm,
Any sort of simple suggestions on what we can consume to help us towards this goal that we're getting to, that we're marching towards, that we're being
mhm.
dragged into kicking and screaming?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So the number one biggest thing that I always say when talk to my clients, when I am, sharing information, is there is one main ingredient that women can, sort of wrap their minds around, get on this mission to lower and eliminate, and that is sugar.
Okay.
I have this platform in my program, which is Sugarless Living. And so I say sugar less, not sugar free. Our bodies do require sugar. It's just not that toxic, unprocessed processed sugar. However, if we could just take I always tell women 7 to 10 days to really delve into the amount of sugar that we are consuming. It is the foundational ingredient in 90% of the products that we consume, both, that we ingest as well as, again, put on our bodies. And your, skin is the largest organ. If we could just do that, Linda, that is
Yeah.
one place to start. Kind of block out all the other noise. Like I can go down this litany of list of foods that we as women should be consuming. Your green leafy vegetables, eat a plant-based diet, eat as raw and whole and organic as you can. I can say all of that, and you've heard it before. You can, Google it, and it'll tell you the same. But I think the one main principle, the easiest yet most difficult principle is that we need to lower and eventually eliminate from our diet toxic sugar.
Okay, now just take a little break here for a second. I
Sure.
had somebody put a question in. Less sugar and better quality, she's saying. So she
Yes,
agrees with you about sugar. This is
absolutely.
Patricia. And train our taste buds and gut not to crave sugar. I think that's a very good
Absolutely,
point,
yes,
you
and
know.
that's what will happen over time. So we're getting ready to go into Sugarless September, and if Linda, I'll just take this opportunity to share. If they go to sugarlessprogram.com, they can sign up for Sugarless September. It is completely free, and what we're doing is we are going to be retraining ourselves to not have those toxic cravings for sugar. And as someone else says, it's, the sugar that we require is more of natural source, and it's a better quality versus what we have been, our guts, as well as our mind, the mental part of us has been sort of trained to think that you need the burst of energy that comes from that, refined sugar.
Yes, but we tend to get this slump during the afternoon, where we need that bit of energy boost,
Uh-huh.
and need a lot of us crave some kind of something sweet, possibly. Uh,
Absolutely. And once you change this, you can still get that, but you'll get it from a more natural source versus that. So how we stay in that cyclical state of, wanting that is because that quick burst of energy from that slump that we get into, it's insulin spike, and then it dips again, and then your body needs it again, and so you end up sort of chasing that sugar up and down throughout the remainder of the day, and then you wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. However, if you just, retrain your body, you'll sleep better, and then you have a more quality sleep, and so you won't get the afternoon slump. And so again,
okay.
it's all very cyclical. So, the healthcare,
Yes.
yeah, the food, the food manufacturers, they know this, Linda. They prey on the fact that,
Oh,
that most
you're so
Americans
right.
are not getting good sleep. And so they're like we have the recipe for that. So again,
Yes. Yeah,
change our thought process.
they have us cooked. What was that link again? Somebody was asking about that
Yes.
link.
So it's sugarlessprogram.com. Sugarless,
Sugarlessprograms.com. Yeah.
sugarlessprogram.com.
Okay. I'll have a look at that.
Okay.
So yes, now I know you touched on organic things and so on.
Yes.
I think that
Mhm.
is sort of the way to go, especially if we're dealing with fruit
Yeah.
and veg, because I don't know about you, but here they're banning glyphosate in a lot of
Yeah.
places. That's what they're spraying on things.
Spray on
And
the
I found out, are they doing that in the US as well?
they're doing it, Linda, but it is more what I would consider sort of a option rather than the rule. So it's not hard and fast. It's more or less we should lower or avoid. Like they like to use these dance around, play around words, but nobody is giving that hard and fast rule to say or law to say this can't be used. And so
Mhm.
I feel that again, it's us toying with what we know is dangerous, what we know is toxic, and what has been proven to show is not healthy for us.
Yes, yes. And another thing that I've been finding out, because of all the different toxins coming out from every which direction
Mhm.
towards us, even the use of our devices
Yes.
um, cause us what I've been learning over the last couple of years about oxidative stress. Do
Mhm.
you ever deal with that with
I
your? Do you
do,
ever talk
yes.
about
And
that
again, during my
with
health
your?
journey, because that wasn't something that I was aware of.
Mm. Oh,
So I
somebody's
do
frozen.
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we back? It was frozen a little
Yeah,
bit.
we're back. I think we're
Okay.
back. Yeah, sorry.
Wonderful. So yeah, the oxidative stress, again, that's something that I learned during my healthcare journey. And so what I try to share with women along that, because again, you want to whip people to make, small changes that have a major impact. And so what I share along that is to just tell them to create this wind down window that will allow them to shut off devices, close their phones, put them away, and that will get them into a state of decreasing their exposure to those toxins as well that come from a place that we're not even aware of, right? So we're in front of cameras. I'm here in front of you, in front of not only my laptop, but my webcam. I got my cell phones here, an
Yeah,
iPad. All of
I
these
know.
things are, kind of emitting this,
Yeah.
oxidative environment, right, of
Mhm.
toxins. And so when we create this wind down window before we get our body and our cells ready to rest for the evening, we help to eliminate all that. So that's really
Yes.
led to them just putting away all the devices and really creating this environment so that we can get a restful sleep, so that you're not hearing the noises of the email ping or the Facebook notification or the the reminder in your calendar. It's really us separating ourselves from that so that we can get in a state of restful sleep.
Good. Okay. So we'll just advance a little bit more about the things we can do to help us with menopause. I think
Mhm.
you said something before when we chatted before about
Yeah.
the walking groups that you
Yes.
have initiated.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about that and how that has
Yeah.
helped your group?
Absolutely. So again, we were doing this walking wellness. And again, it's always initiatives in the Women's Wellness Lounge where we're trying to make a small change, but have a major impact. And so we began just walking on trails here in the US and various areas in Maryland, and it ventured out into, other states where women was seeing what we were doing here. And it basically was just either yourself or grab a group of women, lace up your sneakers, and let's just walk. And so a couple of things were happening. Not only were we walking, so it was helping with our physical, but it also was helping us with our mental and our emotional. You got to, of course,
Exactly.
rewind back to us being, sort of in this quarantine state for nearly 2 years, and then just being able to get out and converse with other women, being out in nature, the creativity, given the rays from the sun. There were just so many benefits happening with that walking group, and basically me sharing the benefits. So each time we met, Linda, I would share a benefit of why walking is essential, why even just being out in nature or exercising was essential for women, not only just menopausal women, but just women in general, and then what the benefit was for them. So not only were they hearing about it, but they were experiencing it at the same time.
And like you say, it's beneficial emotionally as well, because I think too many of us are got our heads down at home maybe, or out in the office, whatever, and we're working all hours that God sends, not only with work but home life and so on, and we don't take time for ourselves.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think it's good when you can do that, get out
Absolutely.
and walk with others, share
Walk.
your experiences.
Yeah.
And as you say, if you provide tips as well during that
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
So you're initiating more of these walks, aren't you?
Yes, I'm initiating more of them. So we had a walk here yesterday, and that was the end of the trail of the walking wellness, so to speak. But that's now going to catapult us into really creating this group and really trying to make it be, worldwide, where we just get together and we walk. You don't have to be in where I am, just in your own, location, to just walk. And really what I've seen outside of the benefits that I just shared is the fact that it helps you to also feel connected to other people, whether they are in your own community or just across, the world. And I think women need that, to feel that again, they're not alone, that they are connected to something that's greater than themselves or greater than their own community, as well as receiving the benefits. Most of the women that get out there to walk, Linda, they'll say to me, "Oh, I'm only going to walk a mile or two." They end up walking 4 or 5 miles because they're out, they're feeling good, they're talking. We're really kind of doing this whole,
Yes.
fellowshipping that's happening. And before you know it, I look down at my watch, my fitness watch, and I say to them, "Oh, we just walked 4.5 miles." And some of them are really amazed that they walked that long, because they have
Yes.
either never walked or they haven't, been active. And there you go, they realize that they, have walked 4.5 miles. So
Mm.
that, I think the walking wellness started out as one thing, has really morphed into something greater.
It sounds really good, and I think what we should do sometime is maybe do a live
Yeah.
with yourself, your group, and I'm gonna work on getting a little group here, and
I
we
would
do a
love
bit of
that.
a live walking, across the pond, so to speak.
Yes, I
I
would
think
love
that would
that.
be,
Yeah, you and
yeah,
I can talk offline about that, because I'm
sure.
actually
We'll
trying to do
organize
something in October. Of
that.
course, as you know, during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. However, our initiative, Pinky Promise, is looking to do that. So sort of like a walkathon type of uh,
Yeah,
initiative. So I
yeah.
will definitely, we'll link up and I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, I'm going to open up to some questions.
Sure.
I'm hoping to have somebody join, maybe live, to see if there's any questions. Now we did have a couple before. I think we dealt with them, but
Yeah.
let me just check to see if there's any questions as well from anyone else on the links. I'm
Yes,
not
I love the
seeing any.
questions because questions means that we're thinking and we're engaging and we are in the I want to know phase. So I
Well,
love
I did
questions.
I did actually see a question in one of your groups, one of your people in the
Yes.
group said that, supplements and those types of things don't
Mhm.
work and we should be on estrogen, to help us because getting into menopause, we get lower estrogen. Now, I did
Right.
have somebody join, and I'll bring her up on stage in a second, but I'll just get you to answer that particular question
Right.
about um, what are your thoughts with regard to
Mhm.
HRT and
Yeah.
estrogen and
I
supplements and that
That's
sort of thing?
always a wavering kind of sort of up and down. And so what I usually like to say to in response to that is to obviously it's very individualized. That's always going to always be my answer for that is that it's very individualized. For some
Yeah.
women, HRT is contraindicated um, depending on what they have going on with them. Um, in a conditional state, meaning what is their background? What if their diagnoses? What do they have that may be that HRT may be contraindicated? So it's always going to be personalized. Now, my next response to that, outside of it being personalized, is that I do feel that it has its benefits. However, at the same token, I don't know that as women, again, going into this headlong, what did we do or not do? I certainly did not, take HRT. However, had I not been prepared, I may have been more frustrated to feel that HRT was my only answer because
Mm,
of all of the symptoms that were coming at me and it felt overwhelming. So that's why I say
yes,
we start the narrative and the conversation and change the narrative, I should say, that
yes.
you don't necessarily need to rely on HRT. Now, again, there are some women that just again, based on what their history is,
Mm,
their reproductive history, they may actually need or require HRT. However, I
mm,
feel as though if we do our due diligence and if we do certain things and make modifications earlier,
mm.
that we may not need the HRT. But if so,
Indeed.
yeah, I think bioidentical would be the safest way to go. So just I say individualize and do your homework and be proactive.
And just to be sort of clear, where do we get the bioidentical
So yes, the
HRT?
bioidentical HRT is typically going to be either through a GYN, a hormone specialist, or some healthcare providers or practitioners um, can either themselves do it or do, kind of point you in a direction of someone who's specializes in the bioidentical. That to me is probably the safest out of all of the literature that I've been
Mm,
exposed to, the programs that I have taken the educational programs, it's bioidentical to
mm,
help with decreasing and lowering your risk of being on HRT, which we know could be cancer and other reproductive issues. Because we certainly don't want to take one thing to help with your menopause and then you're left with another issue,
another problem.
another problem,
Well,
right? So yeah,
indeed. And I think that's what makes us sort of paralyzed, as in
exactly
we can't
right,
make a decision.
right.
I'll just bring Patricia up now. She's
Okay.
going to ask a question. Hi, Patricia. This is Delayna. You've probably been listening anyway, so you know a little bit about what we talked about.
Yes,
You have,
hi, Delayna. I've really enjoyed your talk, and I've made a note about the Sugarless program.
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear you address sugar, but
Mhm.
not just the problem of sugar, but it sounds like you have some solutions. Because that's a really tough thing for some people to give up, and they're just not willing to. But it's because they don't have an option. But anyway, that's not my question. My question is, how much have you looked into collagen and hormones and menopause, different types of collagen?
Right. So the different collagen, again, for me, I was doing the collagen before I even really realized that I was entering into perimenopause. So collagen, I use Vital Proteins collagen. I think with any supplement, you want to do your investigation about the source of those supplements. So anything that's not naturally consumed through your foods, anything that's considered to be a supplement that you ingest that's outside of it being consumed through a natural source, just definitely do your homework to see where the ingredients are sourced from, because
Sorry, seems like she's frozen a bit. Maybe
okay,
technical.
looks like we faded out for a
You're
second.
back. You're back.
Okay,
Sorry.
We had a
I'm
look.
back.
I
I'm back.
completely
Sorry,
agree with
Patricia.
that. I completely agree with that. Supplements are a whole different category. What I'm learning about is a way to activate our body's production of collagen. So it's on an individual basis, which you sort of referred to about HRT, an individual basis. So this
Right.
regulates your body's production of various types of collagen as and where you need them. Have you looked at any of collagen activators?
Right. No. So one of the pieces of literature that I was reading actually that was on the topic of it was HRT, did mention that about the collagen activators. So I'm not very familiar with that in particular piece of information. However, I do know that that is something that a lot of the menopause specialists and gynecologists are looking into, because I think anything that we can
Mm,
do that will activate any part of us that's already natural. Like you always want to look for the natural way that we can do various things to either elevate or optimize those parts of our systems that are already in place, rather than looking for them and from an outside source. So yeah, that's not something that I currently am into, or more, I would say, in a position to offer information on that. I do say that collagen is necessary, and that yes, if you do get it from an outside source, to do your due diligence, to do your homework, to find out where it's being sourced from. But Patricia, you're absolutely right. I think anything that we can do that will activate and improve and optimize what we already have internally is the best way to go, individualized.
yes.
Mm,
Could I send you
great.
some information to look at and love your feedback on?
Sure, absolutely.
Can I
So
get permission on
I'll
that?
get her email for you, Patricia.
Okay.
And so we can do that. But
Okay.
I'm afraid we got to cut it there, ladies. So I
Okay.
thank you very
I hope
much for
you'll
your
come
time.
back. I hope you'll come back, Delayna.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
we
Yes.
will do. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thanks, Patricia. I appreciate you joining us live to ask your question. And I thank you as well, Delayna,
Yeah.
for your comments that you have offered today. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
we can do another session, maybe
Oh,
another
yeah.
live session with part of your group and so on. That would
Yeah.
be amazing. Yeah, appreciate that. Right. So we got to cut it there. I'm so sorry, but that's the
No,
time.
I know
But
time always goes by fast when you're having great conversation. So thank you so much, Linda, for having me as a guest. I appreciate you.
you're more than welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time, because I know it's early morning for you. So
Yes.
I appreciate the time.
No
Thanks very
problem.
much.
You're welcome.
So that was Delayna. She was sharing some of her tips regarding menopause and what we can do about it, and the importance of starting early as well. Before you get to that point, before you get to perimenopause, starting the process of eating right, doing things to help your body, walking, etc., and avoiding sugar. So join us again for another episode of Strictly Healthy. And yeah, we shall see you hopefully next time, same place, for another topic regarding what we can do to help ourselves do better with our health. Thanks very much.